I think it's hard to say how you approach things because, you know, we work across a wide range. We work in different sectors. We work locally, nationally, internationally. We work for print. We work for, you know, we work in motion. We work in VR and different areas. So I think each project has a different approach to it, really. But the common things, you know, I think like Matt's touched on the research. That's really important. I think also, before we even get into a project, we kind of think, well, is this the right kind of fit for us and what we're about and what we do? You know, is it right for the client that they work with us? And then we get to understand as much as possible what the client wants. And there's kind of what they say they want and what we think they want, you know, and what they need to get out of it. And if we just take from them what they think they want, then we're not really doing our jobs. You know, we need to look into it, and that's something that I think that's come from Designers Republic, is not just taking what you're given as a brief, actually really looking at it, thinking, well, really, is that what they want? And quite often we'll have people come to us and say that they want a catalogue and an app, and we'll look at it and say, actually, you need a website and a film, you know, for what you're asking. Far more better use of your budget, and a better use of and more effective for what you're trying to convey.
Definitely don't just if the client says, I want this, most of the time, yeah, it probably is, but a lot of the time it isn't. And it's your job not just to be the slave to the client. It's about thinking with your head about how you can get the same solution to their problem, if you like. I always think it's a bit weird saying business have problems, but that we're you know, kind of solving. But I think it's about trying to literally, like the same for the whole service industry. I just find that shudder when people designers as kind of, you know, slaves to clients. And obviously we all need clients, and clients are amazing, of course. But I think just question clients. You know,
a good designer is someone who can distinguish between what a client wants and what they need, and that's the bottom line, really. And there's there was in the days when we, you know, it was more of a gang, and we kind of the confidence was high, you know, in the Designers Republic, because, you know, people just came to us and said, you just do what you want because, you know best, and you're Designers Republic. And sometimes that's quite difficult, because most designers respond to a challenge, you know, and, you know, if you can just do anything you want, then that's quite a difficult thing to do. But I think right for me, in terms of creative process, right from the beginning, one of the very first things we did was a cover for a band called Age of Chance, and I hadn't studied design or anything, so I didn't really know. But I mean, I was smart enough to know that, you know, problem solve. But the idea was always that, and I still do this, I create the world of whatever the project is, so whatever the client is or whatever the project is, I create the world of that, and then I populate that world in my head with things that fit or that make sense within that world. And then sometimes you think, well, what about that? That's quite a good idea, but actually then you put it into that world and it doesn't fit. So that's kind of quite a good way of starting.
I think with taking some of the skills some of the stuff that we picked up in our years working at Designers Republic, for me, having now moved into working with the BBC and looking at UX design, which is much more process heavy, it's more about data driven and user testing and prototyping things and trying as many ideas and focusing on the best of those and iterating. That's very different to the more instinctive and intuitive place which we all evolved from. And I think that the bit that I take with me in what I do at the BBC, which isn't hands-on design, it's more about design strategy and looking at helping designers do great things, is using some of that intuition to make decisions that will enable great design. So the instinctive thing that I think we all have, I think, in bucket loads. I mean, we're great at that. Will stay with us forever. So there are a number of creative methodologies and processes in any of our respective areas of design. But the instinct is the one thing that we all share, and I think we've reached a point, I would say confidently that we've reached a point where we kind of can trust our instinct. We've seen it work 99% of the time. And
I think interestingly that a lot of the time when clients come, they've seen work that we've done, it probably applies to everybody, quite often the work that they like is the stuff that has come as a result of working intuitively and just knowing what's right, and yet then they try to kind of bend it into something to a brief that they've had, but the very thing that's attracted them in the first place is the work that we've done intuitively.
I think another thing that I've taken in the way my studio works from Designers Republic is when we're talking about the self-initiated work, all the sort of posters and t-shirts and all that kind of stuff that we all designed off our own back, almost broadcasting it to the world, is, we spend probably 60% of the time in the studio doing self-initiated work, kind of like figuring out a new technology and making something of that, or just making a new piece of animation, or designing a typeface recently that's generates something unique every time you use it, things like that. There's no end result in mind. We're just doing them purely for ourselves, but then we release them in some form, in an exhibition or as an artwork on Vimeo or whatever, and they get picked up and they turn into commercial commissions.
Yeah,
and I
definitely.
think that's
Never
really nice way of
underestimate
working.
that, definitely.
Yeah, and then you're making work from your heart, and you're not always having to respond to a brief. The work finds a brief that suits it, and that's definitely
we're all
come from
kind
the
of
DR.
frustrated artists. We wanted to get stuff
Yeah.
out there, so we went ahead and did that, and then
Yeah.
people saw that and say, and it's for sale. You can have
Yeah.
this, and you can use this as your logo or your brand
Yeah,
identity or your festival campaign.
Yeah.
Take that and use it, and it works wonderfully well. But we're quite lucky, I think. We had that.
Yeah, being allowed to do that, given the freedom to do that.
Because I know we were
I think-
talking about business plans and cash flow. If you'd had a business plan in place, that wouldn't have allowed for that to happen, would it?
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
I think if someone had asked for a business plan, there wouldn't have been Designers Republic, really.
Yeah.
Because that certainly wasn't anything that I wanted to do. But at the beginning, and it grew organically. But if being able to move forward and actually kind of set a studio up was dependent on having a business plan or the faintest idea of what you were doing, and it wouldn't have started.
But like designing work without a fee, designing work for free for ourselves, that wouldn't have fitted into any traditional plan, and I think that's why it worked, and I think it hugely paid off for the creative output of the studio.
And for the clients that
were
brave
exactly.
enough to
Yeah.
come to us and
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
So I would definitely encourage that model, for future.
I think it's true, and because I think that, I'd say we were lucky enough to be in a position, but again, that luck was engineered to a large degree, or even accidentally. But the idea of, to me, there's never a massive difference. When people talk about self-initiated work or client work, I don't really say there's no particular difference. The only difference is that with client work, they've asked me to do something, and for personal work, not in some weird kind of talking to myself in a dark room way, but I've had the desire to do it. But I still kind of have a sense that there's some sort of detachedness that I'm the client, or that Designers Republic is the client if I'm doing something. So that if I'm, someone's asked us to do a series of posters for an exhibition, and so it's totally sort of personal work. They haven't given us a brief or anything. They just wanted something new. So it's not like there's a brief you can react to, but there's a sense that I know what I want from it. So now I'm sort of the client and the designer. It's not. So when people sort of talk about self-initiated work as if it's sort of something different, I don't really get that. It's just. But I think that's more because I approach client work as being self-initiated because as I said before, I think we all do, but I immerse myself so much in it that it has to be something of me at the end. Otherwise, I don't have an interest in doing it.